Here's why Corlys Velaryon betrayed his oath to Rhaenyra after her secret marriage. Imagine being a lord whose loyalty and honor are your most prized assets, only to discover that the person you pledged to support has acted in secret, defying your trust, your counsel, and the very oaths you believed were sacred. For Corlys Velaryon, the sea snake, that moment came when Rhaenyra Targaryen revealed her secret marriage. The shock, the betrayal, and the political ramifications were profound, ultimately leading him to betray the very oath he had sworn. Today, we dive deep into why Corlys Velaryon, one of Westeros' most powerful and cunning figures, chose to turn his back on Rhaenyra, and how this decision reshaped the Dance of the Dragons. To understand Corlys' betrayal, we first need to understand the man himself. Corlys Velaryon was not merely a lord, he was the head of House Velaryon, a master sailor, a shrewd strategist, and one of the wealthiest men in Westeros. His influence extended across the seas, from the Stepstones to the Narrow Sea, and his house had long been intertwined with the Targaryens through marriage, blood, and loyalty. Corlys' power was matched only by his sense of honor and his commitment to family and legacy. He was, in many ways, a man of principle, yet one whose principles were tested when Rhaenyra's secret came to light. Rhaenyra Targaryen, as the chosen heir of King Viserys I, carried not only the weight of her claim but also the responsibility of navigating a court rife with intrigue, ambition, and skepticism. Her secret marriage, conducted without the knowledge or consent of her closest advisors and allies, was a shocking revelation. For Corlys, who had dedicated his house, his fleet, and his resources to supporting Rhaenyra's claim, this secret act represented a breach of trust so profound that it forced him into a difficult, heartbreaking choice. But why was Corlys' loyalty so shaken? At its core, the issue was one of principle. Corlys had pledged his oath to Rhaenyra not merely as a political gesture but as a commitment grounded in trust, honor, and shared purpose. When Rhaenyra acted in secrecy, particularly regarding her marriage, she violated the expectations that underpin any alliance. For a man whose entire life had been shaped by honor, strategy, and calculated risk, this was more than a political misstep. It was a personal betrayal. The political stakes of the secret marriage cannot be overstated. In Westeros, dynastic marriages are not simply personal decisions, they are strategic maneuvers with implications for succession, alliances, and the balance of power. By marrying in secret, Rhaenyra disrupted these calculations. Corlys had envisioned a careful, deliberate approach to securing her claim, one that leveraged the influence of House Velaryon, the loyalty of the fleet, and the trust of other nobles. A secret marriage introduced unpredictability, risk, and potential division within the faction, undermining the meticulous strategy that Corlys had helped craft. Moreover, the secrecy itself was a violation of trust. Corlys had invested not only material resources but emotional capital in supporting Rhaenyra. He had advised, counseled, and risked his own house's safety to ensure the success of her claim. The revelation of the secret marriage was a direct affront, signaling that Rhaenyra had made a monumental decision without consulting or even informing those closest to her. For Corlys, this was not merely a breach of protocol, it was a personal insult, a signal that loyalty and counsel could be disregarded in pursuit of personal desire. To fully grasp the depth of Corlys' betrayal, we need to consider the context of Westerosi politics. The Dance of the Dragons was not a mere succession dispute. It was a civil war that demanded strategy, cohesion, and calculated risk. Every decision, every alliance, every declaration could tip the balance of power. Corlys understood this better than most. His betrayal was not impulsive or emotional alone, it was also a calculated response to the potential destabilization caused by Rhaenyra's secret marriage. By turning his back, he sought to preserve the integrity, influence, and long-term security of his house in a conflict where missteps could mean ruin. The emotional dimension of this betrayal is equally important. Corlys was not a man who acted lightly. Loyalty, trust, and honor were central to his identity. To feel betrayed by someone he supported so fully would have been profoundly painful. The secret marriage was a rupture in their personal and political relationship, challenging the assumptions upon which their alliance had been built. It was a moment that forced Corlys to reconcile his loyalty with the stark reality that Rhaenyra's actions had endangered the very faction they were trying to protect. We should also examine the strategic calculus. By betraying Rhaenyra after her secret marriage, Corlys was signaling to other nobles that leadership required transparency, consultation, and accountability. In a world where alliances are fragile and power is fluid, demonstrating that reckless secrecy has consequences is a form of political messaging. It reinforces the notion that leadership is not just about ambition but about responsibility, foresight, and respect for those who invest their loyalty and resources in a cause. Corlys' betrayal, therefore, served both personal and strategic purposes. Additionally, the betrayal was a reflection of Corlys' long-term vision. He was not motivated solely by immediate outrage or personal insult. He was calculating the trajectory of the civil war and the survival of his house. By distancing himself from Rhaenyra's decision, he sought to preserve House Velaryon's influence, protect the fleet, and maintain credibility with other key players. In this sense, betrayal was intertwined with strategy, ensuring that his house could navigate the chaos of the Dance of the Dragons effectively. The personal dynamics cannot be ignored. Corlys had a deep investment in Rhaenyra's success, both politically and personally. To see her act in a way that disregarded his counsel and undermined the cohesion of their faction created a profound emotional conflict. Loyalty in Westeros is rarely unconditional. It is contingent on mutual respect, trust, and shared objectives. Rhaenyra's secret marriage disrupted these conditions, leaving Corlys in a position where his oath was no longer tenable in the form he had envisioned. Furthermore, the secrecy of the marriage introduced practical risks. Rhaenyra's opponents could exploit the revelation, questioning the legitimacy, alliances, and intentions of her faction. By not disclosing her marriage, she inadvertently weakened the trust of her supporters and introduced uncertainty into the strategic calculus. For Corlys, who had long prioritized clarity, loyalty, and strategic advantage, this breach was not just disappointing, it was dangerous. His betrayal was, in part, an effort to mitigate the fallout and safeguard his house. The betrayal also reflects the tension between personal ambition and political responsibility. Rhaenyra's secret marriage may have been motivated by love, personal preference, or strategic considerations unknown to Corlys, but from his perspective, it violated the principles that underpinned effective leadership. Ambition unchecked by consultation or consideration for allies is a recipe for disaster, and Corlys' response illustrates how personal decisions can have cascading effects in a political landscape defined by alliances, oaths, and expectations. We must also consider the symbolic weight of this betrayal. House Velaryon had long been intertwined with the Targaryen dynasty. Corlys' oath was not merely personal, it represented the alignment of his house, resources, and influence with Rhaenyra's claim. By turning his back after her secret marriage, he was signaling a rupture in that alignment. It was a public, political statement that secrecy and unilateral action have consequences, and that loyalty is contingent upon trust and transparency. The emotional impact on Rhaenyra is also significant. For a ruler navigating the complexities of a civil war, having a key ally like Corlys withdraw support would be devastating. It not only weakened her strategic position but also sent a signal to other nobles that her decisions were creating friction within her own faction. The betrayal highlights the delicate balance between authority and collaboration, ambition and trust, and underscores how personal choices can reverberate across the broader political landscape. Strategically, Corlys' betrayal forced a recalibration of alliances.